Recently in court with Nikisha Ervin-Knox. She was telling me to take things down off my social media, violating my freedom of speech. And that was not going to happen. Under the guidelines of harassment, first, I wasn't contacting her. She was trolling my social media, and I am documenting events that have occurred in my life, and that's my right. She's associated with it, and me exposing the truth, that's all I'm going for. And the situation with my lawyer, she rudely interrupted me when I was trying to make a statement, not understanding that I am my lawyer's employer. He is representing me, whereas I am the supervisor. And if I want to say something in court, I override any objections that he has. And that was not afforded to me, and like I said, as far as levying an 18-month restraining order, whereas the mother was saying that I was harassing her, you never reviewed any of the records. You never asked, was he contacted and told not to contact you? That never occurred. And I was not harassing her. Whenever I went to her job, I asked for her to come to counseling with me in an effort to mediate the situation and resolve it like adults. Conflict resolution, which you are not propagating, definitely, in your actions to make me go under supervised visitation and have a psychological evaluation when there's no situation that would call for that, to where my kids would be subjected to a supervised visitation at Harmony House with me. That was the same situation with Judge Jupiter. She put that I was supposed to go to supervised visitation after she determined there was no threat of domestic violence present. There was no violence that ever occurred on my behalf, with the defendant, with the mother stating that she went before a judge and admitted to filing a false report. That never came into play. This is an admitted liar, and she just, like I said, lying after lie after lie after lie. And everything I explained to you was videotaped. Whenever I called and talked to my son, after I found out that she had blocked my number from calling him and contacting him, I called him on a friend's phone, and I'm like, what's going on? And he is 18. He has the right to talk to me whenever. And as a mother, she is not helping my son to have a relationship with me. She's basically obstructing it in all forms and fashion by not understanding that that is his right. And as far as my daughter, meeting her at school, why would a parent obstruct a child having a relationship with their father? This was never addressed and unacceptable. Like I said, it's just deplorable. The manners in New Orleans with educated people, that's just crazy, and something needs to be done. And I will publicize the truth. I will get it out eventually, because, as far as my kids, hey, I'm going to fight for them. I'm going to be very persistent, no matter what. You cannot withhold me legally from my children without proper unfit ruling, and this is what you're doing. You're denying me access, or you're controlling the access that I have to my children unlawfully, when you yourself are not abiding by the Judicial Code of Conduct, which I started stating and I read in open court, to which you were not upholding your oath. And that's just ridiculous for both of you women, and not even protecting a younger female in your society with having a CPS case against this man that now is allowed to be in the presence of another man's child, yet denying the father his access or his rights. That's just crazy. That's just crazy, man. So some of the things that I've taken notice of living here in Louisiana, I went through basic in '89, and actually I earned the honor grad distinction, but it was taken away from me due to I had this situation to where I had these white guys, white boys that were trying to get snacks out of the vending machine, to which I was over the day room being first squad leader. And we were in black phase to where it's like a month that we weren't allowed any snacks. So they were violating the rules, tracking up my floors at night after I had closed. And one of the guys walked up behind me, put his hand on my shoulder and turned me around. So in defense, knowing that the law says that if a person that places their hand on you, that's battery. So I punched him in the sternum, ended up getting an Article 15. They changed my drill sergeant. I was under the senior drill sergeant, but they changed me to a different drill sergeant, took away my squad leader position, and took away my honor grad title, which I had rightfully earned. I've also been in so many traffic and municipal courts where my record is I'm pretty much I think I lost one out of every one that I've fought, and the only one that I lost was under a black judge, to where I was arguing the cosine effect of radar, which the officer was hidden behind a bridge obstruction. And whenever I passed him, I still was on cruise control. And he gave me a ticket for like 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, to which I told him, I'm like, hey, I know I was doing 70 and a 60, but if you write the right ticket, then I'll pay the fine. But otherwise, I'm going to argue it. And went before the judge and argued that. I went to college, took trigonometry and electronics major, and the judge basically didn't abide by the law and ruled in favor of the cop, the white cop, which, it never appeared on my record, but still, that was like kind of crazy that I received problem with the black judge. Under white judges, for the most part, I get fair treatment. They listen to my testimony, or they listen attentively to my side of the story, and I win my cases based off of innocent until proven guilty. And without, you got to prove, or they have to prove, without a reason of doubt. So they got to have everything ducks in a row, which I found that a lot of officers file false reports here in Louisiana. I've been taken to jail multiple times, and they always pad the offenses and file false reports, which are not holding them accountable for their knowledge of the law, their knowledge and use, which they should be held accountable to higher standards than civilians, because they are law enforcement, civil servants. So you shouldn't be trying to railroad citizens, good citizens, for that. I've got a wealth of knowledge that I wanted to pass on to my kids. I was top grad in 6-3 Delta School in the military, which is a diesel mechanic. I was an electrician, or I am an electrician, working on various installments of equipment and updated uh, technology. And, that's something else that I wanted to add to or pass on that knowledge to my kids. I was a plumber, pipe fitter with MCC for like 4 years. I worked out of the warehouse. So I wanted to teach them as far as property maintenance, plumbing, AC certified. I got an HVAC universal certification. First time I took the test, passed it with flying colors, and then was subjected to, it was a union company. They paid for me to go to Delgado, MCC, because they felt like the union air conditioning people weren't learning properly, which I found that they just lack understanding, grasping the proper knowledge needed to address all the various issues that they would be sent out to troubleshoot. So from there, I was assistant section chief at Jackson Barracks, first of the 141st Field Artillery. So I understand management, and I was the disciplinary NCO. I wrote the Article 15s. I tasked out the daily uh, work list for what we needed to accomplish, and we always accomplished it ahead of schedule and never had a vehicle breakdown in the field thereafter. So I had the sergeant major's son under my command where I was training him. I went through JROTC in high school, so I was indoctrinated into the many uh, variations of authoritarian leadership roles, dictator, uh, democracy, diplomatic, issues. And I found that a lot of my white friends were more respectful, and I had problems out of my black friends with crossing the lines, with arguments or disrespectful actions that were completely immature. That's mainly what I said, because I strive for excellence in everything that I do, being educated in an excellence and honor code system in Shreveport, to where we're held liable. And uh, like I said, we're just more or less based off of good manners. You treat other people how you want to be treated. So this is knowledge that I'm not able to pass on to my kids presently, because of abuses of power, or people taking things personally and not having a professional viewpoint in addressing whatever job situation that they're faced with. They're not understanding that, or prioritizing the mission. There's certain things that we need to accomplish first and foremost. In my court hearing with Judge Jupiter, she was just upset that I contested her. Um, she wanted to levy. Um, I can't think of what the name is right now. Part of the side effects from the medicine, but it was something that wasn't going to be a protective order, and just simply based off of my contesting her not requiring a burden of proof and going off of allegations, she abused her power and put me in a situation that denied my kids their rights to their father, who has never committed any domestic violence or who has never abandoned them, at all. I've always, while I was out in California, I always talked to my kids, and that's the thing that's upsetting, is once I decided to come back here to Louisiana, that's whenever the ex started doing all this crazy stuff in an effort to use my kids to get to me, and I was faced with rudeness every time I would be trying to make a statement. That was rude interruptions. I maybe was taking a breath in the middle of train of thought, and the judge, lacking impulse control, both of them, Judge Jupiter, Judge Nikisha Ervin-Knox, they're lacking respect, which is under the Judicial Code of Conduct that they're supposed to be giving me. They rudely interrupt both times with Nikisha Ervin-Knox. And she even interjected whenever I told her about the CPS case. She, uh, in helping the wife or the mother, the female, she asked me if, she suggested that it was unfounded. No, I never got a conclusion to that, because I filed from California, and whenever I got here and they finally finished their investigation, I did not receive the conclusion to that. So I still don't know what happened with that. And trying to use the proper avenues, trying to use the proper venues, I'm not being treated fair for whatever reason, and it's just unacceptable. And like I said, I'm being denied uh, teaching my kids valuable lessons, like conflict resolution, or impulse control, or common sense, for the most part, with people in New Orleans. They lack that, period, and it's so many things. Like I said, my mother uh, learned how to pay the bills, or went and I paid the bills, or went to the grocery store with a sales paper and with a blank check that was signed, and was given different, I guess, things that molded me to be a well-rounded person. I cut hair. I've been cutting my hair since the ninth or 10th grade, when my sister bought me hair cutting clippers and other items to groom myself. And then, like I said, as far as being a JROTC, a pride in oneself and one's appearance, and being able to, I guess, clean up very well. I've always been well spoken. I was a program director of a college radio station, and everyone has always told me about my voice, and I always tried to enhance my strength in order to better myself speaking skills, on the air. I used to always get nervous for some reason. So I just have so much that, like I said, it's my brother. My brother, we we came from the Cook Road, a predominantly black area in Shreveport, went to schools that earned the Excellence in Education Award. My brother attended the Louisiana School, which is a select few, the top students in Louisiana, further going on to get a bachelor's in Cal Berkeley and studying abroad. He has like multiple languages that he speaks. Uh, Russian, he speaks French and German fluently. I think there's a couple of other languages also that he speaks fluent. And like I said, that knowledge of getting finance to getting money to finance one's education, or either studying abroad. I think exposure to other cities is very valuable, and that's one of the lost things with New Orleans, is everybody is so closed-minded and narrow-minded, because they only have New Orleans to base everything off of. So that is something that I wanted to add to my kids, to understand, you know, to kind of be self efficient, and self motivated for oneself, that is not being afforded to me as a father. I wanted to break the cycle, like I said so many times, even in the courts. And I've not ever had these black judges, you know, protect or abide by their judicial code of conduct, with rudeness, with not being able to have them mediate in fairness for both parties, never putting the best interest of my children first. That's the whole thing. Like I said, is you gotta protect the children, man. And these courts presently, they're contributing to the new Jim Crow law, and it's just unacceptable. It's really failing them first and foremost. And we got to do better.